To the Monday, November 14th public meeting of the Board of Commissioners, please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First up, we have public participation. We've moved this up higher on the agenda at requests from various people in the public. Please note that you will have an opportunity to speak before each and every vote that we take tonight on official business. But if you'd like to come up now and say a few words, please do so. Okay, at this point I don't see anyone coming up to the podium, so we'll move right into the meeting. The Board of Commissioners met in executive session at the conclusion of the October 24th Board of Commissioners meeting. All commissioners were present except for Commissioner Higgins. We discussed matters of personnel and litigation. The Board of Commissioners also met preceding the meeting today, November 14th, in executive session. All commissioners were present for that meeting. Matters of personnel and litigation were again discussed. Do I have, let's see, we have approval of the minutes for the Board of Commissioners meeting of October 24, 2011.
Will they be approved?
Second.
Any commissioner comment? Any public comment? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0. We have appointments to boards and commissions. I'll nominate Paul Overbeck to serve on the Garrett Hill Implementation Committee.
Second.
Any board discussion? Any public comment? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0.
And I nominate Regina Majurchak to the Planning Commission.
Second.
Any board comment? Any public comment? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Do I have a motion to approve the departmental reports?
Will they be accepted?
Yes. Can we just change the language to accept?
Second. Motion to move the.
Okay, I'll put that down as Commissioner Spingler.
No, Hank moved to
Hank.
accept, and I
Mahoney?
moved second his motion.
Okay. Okay. Any board comment? I want to go over a few things on this. We receive, I'll just for the public's information, the staff produce monthly reports and provide those to the public and also provide those to the Board of Commissioners, and we receive a lot of information. And the purpose of these reports is to highlight all of the activity by the various departments in the township. And in general, we receive between 50 and 150 pages of information. And this is just a quick summary of all the hard work that our departments do. I'll just highlight a few things. I don't want to take too much time, but I do want to highlight a few things here. We had received, I believe there's 143 building permits that were executed and processed this month. That's a huge number. These are not simple applications in general, and they require a lot of work by staff to produce those permits. So I want to thank everyone in community development for their work on those permits and making sure that all residents who apply for permits are able to get those permits in a timely fashion. I also want to highlight the engineering public works. Dave Lay and Doug Meter have been doing a lot of work in the last month. In particular, I want to thank Dave Lay for helping out with extraordinary efforts, including the SEPTA project that was not really a township project, but involved a lot of the residents and township down on the Route 100 trolley line. But in general, they also have handled a large number of applications for engineering. The police department, in addition to the numerous outreach efforts that they do, including a women's personal safety and awareness class and outreach to all the area schools, they also did a town hall style meeting and they handled over 1,000 complaints and processed over 1,000 incidents in the township in just 1 month. That's a huge number. When you think about the fact that we have about 42 officers, that's a large number of things to process and to handle, and we appreciate all of their efforts as well. And I'm going to also talk about Public Works tonight. A lot of people in the township, when you say Public Works, they're not quite sure what that means, but I'll just give you a synopsis. That's everything that you get in services that make your life a lot better. So, for instance, your trash pickup, your recycling, your yard waste. They maintain hundreds of acres of township property and parks and land, as well as the buildings that we operate out of. They also oversee a majority of utility projects in the township. So, for instance, we have Aqua and Pico doing projects in the township, and they also get involved in those projects to make sure that the roads are restored to proper condition when they're done. They also managed to plow a snowstorm before Halloween, which is pretty unusual, and I'm sure there was a lot of scrambling going on to get plows put back onto the trucks for the first time, which normally are not put on until after the leaves are collected. So again, thanks to all the Public Works staff for all the hard work they did to clear a pretty substantial snowstorm from the roads. And we have Parks and Recreation. I'd like to thank everyone that works with the Parks and Recreation, Tammy Cohen in particular, for all the programs that you do. This is something that I think a lot of residents take for granted, but these are extraordinary efforts by all of township staff that make this place a great place to live. So I want to thank all of you, and if I left anyone off, I'll make sure I bring it up at the next meeting, and thank you personally. So thank you again for all your efforts. At this point, any public comment on accepting the departmental reports? Saying none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0. At this point, we'll head into the committee reports. Community Development, Commissioner Curley.
I motion we approve certificate of appropriateness for HARB 11-23 for 424 Luella Avenue in Wayne, garage addition with rooftop balcony and stairs.
Second?
Any board comment? Any public comment? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0.
I motion we approve the certificate of appropriateness for HARB 11-24 218 Lansdowne Avenue in Wayne to renovate an existing garage and construct a new detached garage.
Second?
Any board comment? Any public comment? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Any further?
No.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Curley. Public Works and Engineering, Commissioner Spengler.
Yes, the first item is motion to approve South Wayne traffic calming design and pavement markings. What are we approving tonight? One or a whole series?
Commissioner Spengler, what you have in front of you is the pavement marking design for the intersection of Windermere and South Wayne. This is part of a comprehensive plan including proposed crosswalks at South Wayne and Audubon, South Wayne and Pembroke, as well as raised medians up at Conestoga and South Wayne. And in October, we presented this to the board, and there were a few questions, one specifically from yourself and Commissioner Mahoney. Your question was regarding the stacking distance on this proposal. The existing condition queue or stacking distance was 4 vehicles. If this plan was implemented, the stacking distance would be for 5 vehicles, so it would increase 1 vehicle. Commissioner
What do
Honey's
you mean by stacking distance? What do you mean by stacking? Does that
from the
tell you
stop
how-
sign. Actually, I'm going to approach, if I may. I'll
Okay.
put this up on the. The stacking distance is the distance from this
Yeah.
point at the stop bar that the cars would come back in the worst case scenario. Currently, it's about 4 cars, and in this scenario, the worst case scenario would be 5 cars.
Well, we don't have any stacking now, right?
Well, they judge this on the AM peak AM rush, and right now cars can go through, right? There is no control, but if they were to make turns, cars can back up a little bit if guys were trying to make turns or left-hand turns. But what it comes down to is the worst case scenario is from the stop bar back on South Wayne, 5 cars would be estimated to stack in this configuration.
Right.
And Commissioner Mahoney's question was about the level of service of the intersection. The existing level of service of the intersection is rated at A, and the proposed level of service, the proposed markings would provide a level of service of A also, so there would be no change to the intersection.
So there's been a study done indicating the number of cars that come through in the peak AM and PM
That's
periods?
correct. That was done by Gilmore and Associates as part of this. They took the plan provided by Larry Bucci of PennDOT and with their traffic counts, provided this information to us.
And
Now-
remind me again, what's the time distance for an A rating at an intersection in terms of performance?
I don't have that with me, to be honest with you.
We talked about this before.
Does our engineer have that?
You were going to, I'm sorry, still answering?
Does our engineer have that?
Their traffic engineer is the one who did that. She isn't Amy Kaminsky. She's not.
Okay, all right.
But when we looked at this before, southbound, you were going to continue to go.
Well,
And
there
now
was-
the configuration has moved all the way over to the sidewalk and the curb, so that now South Wayne Avenue and Windermere Avenue come together.
What it means is South Wayne Avenue comes to a T intersection at Windermere. There's an existing stop sign at Windermere. That would not change. So if you were heading on Windermere and wish to continue northbound on South Wayne Avenue, you would have the same stop that you have now. The biggest difference is if you were heading northbound on South Wayne Avenue, right now, under this configuration, you would come to a complete stop at more or less a T intersection. And you would have to go left to go northbound South Wayne, or you would go right to go on Windermere. Cars approaching southbound would make that turn. They do not have to stop, but southbound cars would have to make the turn to continue southbound on South Wayne Avenue.
So, the South Wayne Avenue, if you're coming northbound, you come and you have to take a left or right-hand turn.
That is correct.
And if you're going southbound, you come to a stop sign and you must make a right-hand turn.
Now, if you're coming southbound, you can either go straight through onto Windermere,
Yeah.
or you can make a right-hand turn.
Yeah.
There is no stop for southbound traffic.
There's no stop sign there?
There is no stop sign for southbound traffic.
So this is like a one-way stop?
Windermere stops and northbound South Wayne stops. There's an existing stop sign
No.
at Windermere, and southbound South Wayne would stop also.
Is
How does this work out with all the school buses?
This was provided to the school district early on in the iterations. I haven't heard anything back from them, or I don't believe our police have heard anything back as a problem with them. The reality of it is, these are painted markings. For emergency vehicles or school buses, it's really not an issue in making a turn if there should be any kind of problem. And again, this is part of a comprehensive plan of crosswalks and raised medians that encompass South Wayne from Conestoga to this point. We pulled this out solely because there's two opportunities here. This is back with PennDOT now, and they're reviewing it. Even though they provided it to us, they are still reviewing it. But the possibility exists that they would perform this work under their safety program at no cost to the township. If that does not come through, we would do the painting for this ourselves.
Steve, do you have an estimate of how much that would cost if we ended up paying for it?
The engineer's estimate was about $7,000
And
if we went out of house to do this.
and are there going to be any of those bot stats things, or is this
We
just
would-
painting?
We would incorporate them.
And that would be included in the 7,000?
Correct.
And how does southbound South Wayne Avenue make that right-hand turn without stopping? I mean, that looks like a curve. I mean,
Well,
I
this
mean-
movement here, I understand what you're saying, but the need for a stop sign was not determined, was not required in the study, and that was the one movement. If you remember, the one iteration had the southbound traffic coming through here, but one of the whole purposes of this is to provide some traffic calming. So we wanted to have the cars come to a dead stop or slow down to make that turn. So now they're not traveling at whatever speed they were previously on the road.
Steve, you indicated that PennDOT has not yet approved this?
Well, it's somewhat of an odd situation. A PennDOT employee, their safety officer actually designed this. But we did kick it back to them with these tables and the level of service and the stacking distances. There may be some preliminary changes we have to make as far as temporary signage to the new intersection. I can't speak for PennDOT, but I have reasonable confidence that since one of their people designed it, I can't envision a lot of issues with this. And we would hear back on this, I just spoke to them today, probably by the end of this week. So if this board approved it, it would still be contingent on PennDOT, and if they approved it, then we would move forward with both approvals.
Well, my personal opinion, using this 3 or 4 times a day, I just think you're creating a bottleneck. You got a wide open thing there. Here is not where the speeding is. The speeding it's further up the road, and I can't vote for this. I just, once this goes in, people are going to ask me who voted for this, because I think it's going to be a mess, and I'm not going to be one of the ones that voted for it.
Is it possible to paint this on the roadway without any raising of pavement or anything, so that if it's done sort of on a test basis and it bombs, we could just remove it very easily?
If we do this in-house, we would do it with traffic marking paint, as you're suggesting. That being said, lines can be eradicated. If PennDOT were to do it, they will probably use hot thermoplastic, which is raised, and although it can be eradicated, is a more permanent installation, if you will.
But not undoable.
Not necessarily undoable.
But who's going to control what the final configuration is? It's PennDOT, correct?
Correct.
So that if they say go ahead and do it, and we do it, we'd have to go back to them to undo it, correct?
Yes, as part of this, if we were to install this, since this is a state road, we're saying the township would have to provide a letter saying we're going to maintain this and we're going to upkeep it. If we wanted to change it, we'd have to go through the process back to them.
Steve, just a brief comment. The stop sign on the north side of Windermere is not in bold as it is marked on the south side. Just a note on the drawing.
Right,
That's why I
that
didn't.
stop sign, that's the existing stop sign.
Yeah.
If you look at the sign tabulation,
Yeah.
what they're showing is the large double arrow sign here, which basically is telling you now you're at a T intersection. And the other one is for a new stop sign to be installed. Install stop sign here.
I see.
And over there, that stop sign, we decided in staff that would probably be best if it was left where it was as opposed to redoing it. Not that we can't install a new sign on that post.
Sure. Okay. So, I mean, at this point, this whole design is in paint, whether it's raised slightly or not. What prevents? My only thoughts on this are, this is a a historic intersection that
Yes, it is.
probably about 20,000 residents have used, and all of a sudden they're going to come down the road the next day, and they're going to maybe notice the paint too late. So the question is, what can we do to assure that the cars don't accidentally drive right through all that and cause an accident? I mean, I would assume that, will we have a new traffic pattern ahead sign put up?
There will be, and that's some of the things that PennDOT's going to provide. As they're looking at this, they're going to come back to us and hopefully say this is fine, but you need to do this for the next 3 months.
Yeah, but
And have these signs up that will alert the residents to that until their behavior is modified to where they're used to seeing it.
But none of this will be a curb with an island
No.
with a curb? So what about, so we can't put chevrons up? We can't,
Now,
It's-
I wouldn't recommend the chevrons. I think the bot
You can't.
stots is a good item. They're low, it's tactile. If you drive over it, you do feel it, but it's not a damaging item.
that's like a vertical
It's a
delineator type thing?
hemisphere,
Oh.
more or less.
And how about the fire trucks and the ambulances?
Well, that's one of the nice things about using the paint. It really, for emergency vehicles, there is no slowing down. I mean, there's no problem for them. If they were to circumvent the intersection, where there wouldn't be an issue, because there's no raised median or curb.
Let me say that I'm a middle school parent, so I negotiate this little corner once a day, sometimes twice a day, when middle school students are all coming in and out. And there's a lot of space. It's like no man's land there, and it's hard to negotiate. It's sometimes quite a free-for-all, especially when you have 20 buses coming at you, and the cars don't have the right of way. Coming north on South Wayne, there's the right of way. I do think something needs to be done. I'm supportive of this. This seems to be a pretty low-risk, low-cost option of trying to address and make it a little bit more controlled in this. And I'm especially convinced, I mean, when you come at 10 of 3 to 10 after 3, not only do you have all this traffic, because you have to pick up at Windermere, that's where parents pick up, you also have, 300 kids walking, running, playing tag, and throwing footballs. So it's a confusing intersection at that point of the day. And I support doing this very low-cost, low-risk option to try and address it.
I think that the fact that this can be undone is probably a good thing. I'm not sure it's going to work, but I know we have a traffic problem there. So I'm willing to support it, even though I think there's the potential for problems here. But if there are problems, it's going to be up to somebody else other than me, the gentleman sitting out there, to look at this thing and decide whether or not to undo it. So I'm willing to support it at this particular point.
Okay, any other commissioner comment?
I'm going to support it, obviously. I think it's a good idea. It's a compromise. Nobody got everything that they wanted, but on balance, I think it's better than the existing condition.
I'd like to make one other comment that has nothing to do with this actual plan. If it turns out that this is a satisfactory solution and that we stick with this, painted service being kind of out of commission, I'd love for us to consider making that impervious. And this is a really, this is a part of our township where we really need some stormwater treatment, retention, and I don't know if that's possible, but if we could consider it, in a year or two, if this pattern seems to work and stick, to finding a way to make that impervious and maybe even, some sort of recipient of stormwater somehow.
I think this is just the plan. As you'd mentioned, it's not perfect. There's a lot of things. It's a tough intersection to work, and we're trying to conform to that intersection. But it is a real good example of how the local government is working with PennDOT, and we're all trying to work with the residents to come up with a common solution for the problem.
Very good. So I'll motion that we approve the South Wayne traffic calming design and pavement markings.
Second.
Any public comment? Please state your name and address as well.
Dan Skolnick, 214 South Wayne Avenue. So we live in the first house on the street next to the church. And the stacking would most likely, if it's going to be in front of our house, although I don't even think it's going to go back that far based on the measurements, and we're fine with it. As far as where the speeding problem is, it starts from both ends, either from Conestoga or from the middle of Wayne, and they speed directly up. So the turn will slow people down, and it will provide it. And I agree with your assessment of that intersection. My wife and I have watched as school lets out at 3 o'clock how cars on South Wayne more or less stop anyway as they go into that intersection, because they have no idea if the people on Windermere are going to stop, because the people on Windermere have to come into the middle of the intersection. And then you have the buses coming out, and it is a madhouse. And as Sergeant Smith said last time, there is a crash history at this intersection. We think it will improve it, and we think it will improve the safety, and we would love it if instead of in a couple of years it's just painted lines, if it looked, with grass or something else, because as you also know, there's a lot of flooding in that area in front of the school. So we're glad you support it, and we know there are other items coming, assuming PennDOT is on board with those, and we look forward to your support. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Sandy Karate, 307 South Wayne Avenue. Having raised 2 kids that are now gone on South Wayne Avenue who walk to music lessons, walk to the middle school, and negotiating South Wayne Avenue and that amorphous area at the end of our street. I firmly support this plan, and I love your idea. If we can, we have a lot of stormwater issues on South Wayne, and as we all know, that's a flooding area, and this might help it a bit. But I think when the new middle school was built to gain some more parking spaces, the stop sign was actually moved even further back. So no one knows what to do, and people just kind of collide and merge at odd places. So I think for safety reasons, I think it's a great idea. Thank you.
Baron Gemmer, 335 South Wayne Avenue. I'd like to thank Steve Norsini for his intro. I think he gave a very good background to this. This is part of the overall traffic calming we're attempting to do on South Wayne, and although this isn't one of the original things we had proposed because PennDOT had to come up with this, it's very good in that purpose, and I hope we remember that when we bring up the additional items which aren't quite detailed yet. Commissioner Schaefer pointed out, and as everybody's mentioned, that is a horribly uncontrolled intersection, not only from Windermere traffic, but pedestrians. So I specifically don't cross there because there's just too much in no man's land. So this will help from both a pedestrian safety standpoint as a much-needed traffic standpoint, even if it wasn't for traffic calming. That's kind of a bonus we get out of this. But that intersection needs to be controlled in some manner. So thank you for your support of it.
All right. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Opposed.
Motion carries 6-1, noting Commissioner Spengler's opposition.
Next, I'd like to move Resolution 2011-140 approving subdivision number 2005, final revised plans from previously approved land development for 3 retail units in an 18,000 square foot building to 6 units in an 18,000 square foot building to include 3 to 4 restaurants at 200 North Radnor Chester Road. Brandywine Trust.
Do I have a second? Okay, board, is the applicant present or any representative? Nick, would you like to come up?
And John, you're going to correct the
Yeah, there's one.
whereas.
In the second whereas where it says Brandywine, that should be consistent with the identity in the first whereas, Radnor Properties. So,
Right.
assuming the board acts on this tonight, I'll make that change in the second whereas.
That's fine.
Is the applicant in agreement with all the conditions?
Yes, we are, and an affidavit.
Yeah, we have the affidavit that they've accepted all the conditions that are in here.
Okay. Any questions from the board?
Can you divulge yet who the tenants are going to be?
No, we don't.
It's the big
They're
mystery. Everyone wants to
They're
know.
still negotiating it, and I'm surprised you haven't heard the rumors, but,
Well, I've heard rumors, but
okay.
I vote for Taco Bell. But any public comment on this resolution 2011-140?
Hello, Jim Schneller. I live at St. David's Park condo, which actually is a stone's throw from this location. And I just had
I couldn't throw a stone that far.
you're retired.
No, I'm not retired. I can't throw it that far. Trust me.
Medicine ball through. I've got some serious objections, and I tried to raise them at the last caucus. I'm not sure if you were accepting comments. However, I felt put upon to not stand, and I have need to say these because I traverse the location at least 3 times a week on foot or on bicycle. The more it's winter, the more it's on foot. And I'm highly aware of the times of day and the types of traffic and foot traffic. And I'd like to note first off that many employees who work at the shopping center or the hotel and Points East come from the trolley stop. So you have more pedestrians there than just the students, because people don't walk all the way down to Lancaster Avenue. If they're coming down from Radnor Chester, they will cross it at this intersection. This intersection is a great opportunity, and one good thing I see about it is that there will be a all-day crossing instead of just when the police are there. I have to ask if this is within some kind of time frame from 2005 where there should have been a reapplication, resubmission as a caucus plan, and a resubmission to the Planning Commission.
Jim, this is a revised final plan that was submitted, went in front of the Planning Commission. It's a plan that was approved. There's a couple of revisions here, and it's before the board tonight for final plan approval.
I understand. However, that's my other problem.
Well, the answer to your question is no, there was no need to do that. Okay?
Despite the fact there's been many, many changes to the plan and to the environment that is the circumstances.
Jim, these plans are viewed by the public. You have opportunity, at planning, zoning, here at the Board of Commissioners. There's nothing being done. I'm the biggest proponent of transparent government, and I can't imagine making it any more transparent. I mean, we could invite all of us to meet in people's living rooms, but I think they wouldn't appreciate that. So I appreciate your comments.
No, I was asking mainly technically. I don't think anything should.
Well, technically, the solicitor has ruled, so we're
Right.
fine with that.
But I also say that there has been very little time. I don't think this came up till October. And it's a big change. I know that I may be the only speaker, but I'd note the emptiness of the room regardless, and I'd note the trepidation of people to be here. There's been a lot of lethargy on some of these issues, and I can air them quickly, although I hope it will change your mind. I have to ask another technical question. Is there a reason why the use is so predominant in the agenda item and all the deliberations? Is there any reason why use, the mention of 3 to 4 restaurants, is happening? Is this going to be set in stone? Are you going to, and my second question is, you're going to get further questions about or amendments necessary to this?
No, Jim, these are the uses that the property owners proposing, what the township's doing. The uses could change over time, but they're all permitted uses. They're all going to be renting, leasing space in the building, just like any other typical large building that has multiple tenants. So, but they're all permitted uses, so it really doesn't matter. I don't understand the point.
Well, the point is, are you creating any further allowances or technicalities down the road?
No, township is not.
All right, Jim, thanks. Appreciate your
I'm
comments.
sorry, I'm not, can I please have another minute or two? There was a major point I'd like to make, which is that if you look at the zoning map, and I've been aware of this because I live on the other side of this use area, the actual, it's not PLU, I think it's a CO use for the entire Radnor corporate and the shopping center, is surrounded by estimated 25-yard to 35-yard green stripe. All the way from the Radnor station to Radnor Station Apartments. In other words, this entire area, including the side southeast of Radnor Hotel, Mainline Health, and then back to the entire corporate parking area, has a green stripe. It's a strip, and from what little I've read, I know that the area was, when it was set aside at some point, maybe with the covenant for Bed Bath Beyond Shopping Center, it was agreed that the community needed a buffer. And to make a long story short, if you walk all the way around, you will note, except for Radnor Hotel, you have not even parking in the first 60 to 80 feet from the road. Lancaster Pike, Altman Shopping Center, everything has a 60 to 80 feet buffer, and I wanted to ask you to continue this. And I want to ask Mr. Mahoney, because I think he may be the party, or Mr. Spengler, do you recall why the yellow or the green stripe is there? Why,
Jim,
was there a buffer area set up?
Jim, this is a plan. You're asking the board to do something they don't have the ability to do. This is a plan that was already approved. This just is back as a revised plan. So
Well-
It meets the township's ordinances. The township engineer has reviewed it. There's an engineering review letter that has some additional issues. You can't rewrite, you can't. You
Well,
can't
I'm-
rewrite the laws and ask the board to do something that's not required under the ordinance.
I understand there's been some preparation, but there naturally would be for a large mall. But more so, the public only gets 2 chances at this. I know the final plans have been tabled. I know that conditions have been tacked on at final plan time.
Well, the conditions are in this resolution, so I would suggest you comment on Resolution 2011-140, because they're the conditions that are in front of the board.
Well, I beg to differ about what's in front of the board, because this is the last time the public has a chance. And I have it written very concisely. But first, do you recall any reason why they put in a green buffer right on the zoning map?
No, it's a setback, but there's not much. The Radnor Hotel, the parking goes almost to the
Right.
to the highway.
But not at Mainline Health?
What's that?
Not at Mainline Health?
Mainline Health was an existing building that there was a school.
Not at the former PennDOT building right there? Not all the way down past the mall, coming right here? The whole mall, of course, it's a hill. But then
That was just the configuration they put. We have our setbacks, what you have to do, how far you have to be from the road. They follow that. If they want to exceed that, they exceed that. But I don't know of any recollection. And if they did it because they agreed to it, not
Well, I'm
because they
asking-
were made to.
I'd ask then that you do try to conform with this. I haven't reviewed the plans. However, as far as parking between the mall and Lancaster Pike, every square footage of grass you have there is going to help a lot, because
Well, that was uphill. That was the topography did that.
No, I'm just
Yeah,
saying,
all
that this is a former wetlands.
Yeah.
This
Okay.
is one of the lowest spots between Villanova and Wayne. And aside from the fact we've got the beauty of this setback,
We don't have the legal ability to change this. the
Well,
way
you do.
want. No, we don't. So go on. All right, thanks, Jim. We appreciate it.
I'll make a final request, if you could possibly, if it's within your scope, would you please table it and take a look at this? Because I think the review, the timing here was bad, and I think that it belongs in front of Delaware County Planning Commission also.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
All right, well, the motion on and the change Brandywine to Radnor Properties, is that correct? Call the question.
Okay, so noted. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0.
Okay. And just to stay with this, there's also, I'll move to the resolution adopting a revision to the Radnor Township Act 537 plan for 200 Radnor Chester Road, and this is about sewer modules.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner Spengler. We are required to amend the Township's Acts 537 plan when a subdivision or land development plan of this type comes in. The applicant has provided a completed sewage facilities planning module with the appropriate requirements from the downstream partners. And actually, this was completed some time ago, so we are just updating with current signatures and would request that the board adopt this resolution. If the board sees fit to do so, we will include the signed resolution with the sewage facilities planning module and send that off to DEP for approval.
I'll move the approval of that resolution, 2011-142.
Any board comment? I just have one or two questions. And this is not something I fully understand, but this proposed plan requires a connection to the sewer system. And normally, we talk about sewer connections as EDUs, equivalent dwelling units. Are we counting this as one EDU or 4 EDUs? Or?
Now, and I apologize, Commissioner Fisher, I don't have that in front of me, but in the sewage facility planning module, all that's laid out as far as how many EDUs this is, and it's based on the Department of Environmental Protection formula for restaurants. This planning module actually came through some time ago at the beginning of this development, and we are now submitting it for all. But those EDUs, and I can provide that to you after the meeting with the actual sewage facilities planning module. It has all that data in there.
Does RHM have the capacity for the
Yes,
required
RHM signed
EDU?
off on this, I'll say a year and a half or two ago, as did Springfield, Delcora, and DCGAA, as well as Philadelphia. I did contact RHM because there was quite a time lag from when they approved it, and they said that approval is good and you can move forward. So we're basing it on the fact that they did collect all the appropriate signatures from the downstream conveyance folks,
Thank
as
you.
well as Philadelphia for treatment.
Steve, do you know, do we use, do they use, does the state use EDU factors? You know, do they, and is this, my only reason for bringing this up is, in some cases, commercial uses have a factor less than 1. Is that possible?
Really, it's on the intensity of the use. So retail and office have a less intense use than restaurant. So 1,000 square feet of restaurant will require more EDUs than 1,000 square feet of retail or office because of the intense use of the restaurant. So whether you look at it it can be looked at in several ways. It can be EDUs or gallons per day per seat per square foot. There's a lot of ways to break it down in the end, but that intense use or more intense use is shown in the calculations.
I see. Okay. All right, I don't have any further questions. At this point, I'll call the public comment on Resolution 2011-142.
Call the question.
Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 7 to none.
Next is Resolution 2011-135, the award of road de-icing salt to Oceanport Industries for $59.74 per ton, and I'll move the approval of the resolution.
Second.
Board comment? Any staff comment on this one? Steve, do you have anything?
Commissioner Fisher, no, we did this in conjunction with a salt consortium administered by Middletown Township, Delaware County. Bids were received by Middletown for the de-icing salt. The lowest qualified bidder was Oceanport Industries at $59.74 per ton delivered to Radnor Township. So we would respectfully request that the board approve that resolution.
Okay, thank you.
Steve, is this, how does the 2,200 tons compare to what we ordered last year?
It's based on, we give them an estimate, and the estimate last year was 2,000. I believe last year we went over that.
Right, didn't we have to go back and get more?
Right. So I did a 10% increase. It's if you use less, you don't have to pay for everything. But if you don't, the contract changes when you go over what you reserved.
So if you have to go back for more, it costs you more.
It doesn't cost you more necessarily, but the delivery requirements are different once you've gone over your allotment.
I see. Okay. So you think 2,200, just a little bit more than last year, will do us?
I'd be very happy if we used 0 tons after last storm, but yeah, I'm hoping so.
What happens if you go under a lot?
You just pay for what you use. Now, I mean, if we were well under for some strange reason, but in reality, all the other townships involved in the consortium would be under too, if we just had a light winter. There's no penalty.
Any further board comment? Any public comment on Resolution 2011-135? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 7 to none.
That's it. That's it. The Public Works.
Thank you, Commissioner Spengler. Commissioner Mahoney, Public Safety.
First item on the agenda is the Staff Traffic Committee meeting minutes for October 18th, 2011 for our acceptance. Any questions or comments?
Well, can I just, I was there, and I'm not on this, so I came late. So if we could just put my name in there as present. Thanks.
My only comment on an item I had, the Staff Traffic Committee is recommending amending Ordinance 87-17, dated May 27, 1987. This is to allow permit parking from dusk till 6 a.m. at Tunnel parking lot. This is to help relieve some of the parking stress in the neighborhood. John Rice, I don't know if Staff Traffic has presented this to you yet, but I don't know if Staff Traffic normally does that or if we do that, but I'm just going to bring that to your attention. So that's ordinance 87-17, and we're basically going, the Staff Traffic Committee has asked that we modify that ordinance to allow for permanent parking from dusk until 6 a.m. Any other commissioner comment?
I would move the acceptance of the report, noting a change that Commissioner Schaefer was present.
Second?
Any public comment? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0.
The next item is Resolution 2011-136 regarding the authorization for the purchase of 4 dedicated police headquarter computers and wireless cellular USB adapters for utilization by the police department. Superintendent?
Yes, thank you, Commissioner. Under the current system, the way the officers make their reports, we have a system called Alert 2, which is an upgrade from Alert 1. Our tech people are in the audience here if you need any further elaboration. The way it is now, the officers, if they're working on a report in their car, they have to literally drive into headquarters, pull up in front of the building, and download the information onto a terminal. This system allows them anywhere in the township where they're at to go right online and complete their reports. It also gives them better access to JNet and other features that will not only cut down travel time back into headquarters, but also saves on gas. And it's for minimal cost for the 12 cars, and it improves public safety because the officers are going to be constantly on patrol without having to drive back and forth and do their reports in headquarters.
So the anticipated costs right now would be $74,2956, $7,429.56, and in subsequent years, almost $6,600 per year.
That's correct, sir. The big cost now is obviously we have to buy the computers that will stay in-house, and that's where all the information will be channeled through.
Steve G. and Christopher, have you looked at this? And if so, give us your thoughts.
Good evening, Board. I'm Steve Jan Cristoforo. I handle the IT needs for the police department. As the superintendent mentioned, we had upgraded our visual alert back in the end of the summer to Visual Alert 2. And prior to that, there was a piece in the car in Visual Alert 1 that the officers would do the reports on the street, pull up and download them into the station. It was not live data, and once they would download into the station, that data would be gone and it would be absorbed into the station data. When we upgraded to Visual Alert 2, we tried the piece in the vehicle, which was a much larger piece because Visual Alert 2 runs on a much more powerful database engine. We had to install SQL Server into the vehicles. Now, the laptops that the officers use in the vehicles are owned and maintained by Delaware County, and they're probably 5 to 6 years old right now with no plans in the near future to replace them. So when we upgraded the Visual Alert 2 piece into the vehicles, we found that the laptops were not powerful enough. Although they worked okay in testing, they did not work well under the rigorous implementation of the police officers using them day to day. So after about 4 to 5 days, we had to stop the program, and the officers had to do the reports in-house. We went back to look at another solution, and the solution that we're proposing here allows the officers to have 100% access to all of the data that's in the station here, the alert, the JNet, the police forms, the crimes code, vehicle code. Everything will be maintained in station. The officers would be accessing it through a digital program in the vehicle so that the laptops would have a very small piece of software on there and do everything via screenshots and live streaming data. It works very well. We tested it for 2 full weeks with a loaner card from Verizon Wireless in the supervisor's vehicle. It allowed the supervisors not only to do their reports but also to approve the reports, and everything that they could do sitting in that station downstairs they can do on the street. It worked very well with the existing laptops, and not only does it provide access from the officers into the building, but on the IT side, if there's a problem with the laptop right now, they have to drive back into the station. Bob Hale, who is our full-time guy, goes out and has to diagnose and fix the problem. With having the wireless access in the vehicles, it allows Bob to reach out into the vehicles and fix problems while they're riding around in the street. So that's going to save time also. So it's a win-win any way you look at
So
it.
it's more efficient use of the officer's time.
The officers' time, the IT staff, everybody involved.
They don't have to travel back
Nope.
here, so we're enhancing public
Unless it's a
safety.
hardware problem, and it's a hardware problem, they have to come back anyway. So it's a
Sounds like
win-win any way you look at it.
Sounds like a good deal.
Yes.
Steve, is the $42.99 fixed cost unlimited usage, or is there?
That is unlimited usage, yes, on a one-year contract, yes. And no charge for the devices. We would install them ourselves. And there's only one very small software piece that sits on the laptop, so it's not using any of the resources of the laptop.
Steve, I saw there are 4 PCs, and will that allow 4 remote connections?
Yes. 4 concurrent connections by the patrol. The sergeants and the corporals' vehicles will connect to their own downstairs. So we can actually have 6 at once accessing the system. We put in for 12 because there are 12 vehicles that could conceivably be on and using the system, without having to swap the USB devices from car to car, which is not a good solution because they end up getting lost, broken, et cetera. So,
And aside from the wireless component, I assume there are already folks remote accessing from home?
we've been doing it for 10 years.
Okay, so there's no
Yes.
new security risk other
No.
than the wireless, but that's...
That is correct, yeah. Bob Hale, myself, and Melissa, we use it 24 hours a day to
Okay.
fix problems in-house.
All right. I'll just comment on the resolution, we should probably add the word each after item number 1 and item number 3. It's a little, even though the supporting documentation shows the total on the resolution, it almost sounds like we're getting 4 computers for $300. And I know that isn't true. And same with the 12 Verizon wireless cards. So I'll suggest that we amend that to say each.
I'll move the authorization of the resolution, or approval of the resolution, rather, with those suggested changes.
I'll second it. We'll just put the total cost of $7,429.56 plus $6,585.56.
Per year.
Is that, that expense is in our budget already, do we know, or is this an added, have we budgeted for this, and is it in the 2012 budget that you put together?
It should be in the 2012, yes.
But for 2011, it's not there?
No,
We'll just
no,
fund-
ma'am, not in 2011.
Okay.
Okay. Any further board comment? Any other staff comment? Thanks, Steve.
You're welcome.
Good to see you.
Yes, sir.
And any public comment on Resolution 2011-136? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 7 to none.
The next item is Resolution 2011-137 regarding authorization for the purchase of 6 radar speed feedback displays for the police department in the amount of $22,575. You have Superintendent Colarulo's memo to us regarding this matter. Superintendent?
Yes, one of the things the township manager actually came up with a few months ago, he realizes the impact it has and the numerous requests we have to put this speed panel up, and it does show a significant decrease in speeding when people are aware of how fast they travel. However, we have 1 and we have 7 wards. So we thought it would be prudent to have 6 more. They are solar powered, and it would be extremely beneficial based on the numerous requests we have to use these.
Well, I think that speeding is still a major problem in the township, and anything we can do to reduce speeding at a minimum at a cost is a good thing. And I think this is certainly reasonable under the circumstances. So I'll move the approval of the resolution.
Second?
I had a question. It says that Traffic Logic is not the lowest bid. How far off were they from the lowest bid?
I believe it was 1,500, if I'm not mistaken.
And the logic is that you want all the display units to look the same?
Well, and this is actually a better product, and it's more durable, and they can get more data from it. They can detract data from it, from a box that's built in.
Do you know
I'll just
what?
make a brief, oh, sorry.
Do you know what the turnaround time is for, if we approve this tonight, when we would get these?
Depending on when they could ship them,
Mhm.
I'm hoping in maybe 4 weeks.
Mhm.
Is this also in the 2011 budget or 2012?
I believe it's 2011.
I was going to say, if it shifted 4 weeks, it has to be this year.
Well,
2011.
2011, okay, good. All right, brief comment, I did bring this idea to the township, I think it was 3 years ago. I visit the West Coast often, and they use them everywhere. I know a lot of my constituents have asked for these to be put in their neighborhood from time to time, and quite frankly, these do a lot more than just notify the driver. They also allow us to collect data and allow the police to be able to target their enforcement. So, for instance, if we know there's a speeder that comes through at 8:45 every morning, then the police know that, and that's a good way to catch that person. I also like the idea that it allows us to move them around. So instead of spending $4,000 or $5,000 on each speed table, we only spend a few, maybe $1,500 or $2,000, and we get to reuse these. So it's a good idea, good value, in my opinion. So I appreciate this coming back to us.
I read these things. Is this resolution written properly, Bill? Because it's 22,575 for, where'd it go? General highway products.
I just noticed that, and there's a different figure on the other side, correct? Right. Yes, I noticed that too. I'll have to check with Mr. Rice afterwards and get the right figure there.
I think we.
Is it the 23,880?
Can I make a recommendation here? We table this?
Yeah.
So I can look at this, because
I think it's mixed up.
this, yeah, the I did the resolution, but I was sent numbers by email. Yeah. And I want to compare that with what's on the legislation and make sure that the resolution you adopt matches up with it.
All right, I'll withdraw the motion to move the table.
Can I ask Bill a process question? Does it really matter if we got this into this year's budget versus next year's budget? Do you need some kind of discretion if John gets back to you in the next couple of days, or does it not matter? If the superintendent wants to deliver this year, I mean, I suspect it just affects the fund balance.
Right, so if the expenditures aren't made this year, they'll just roll into next year.
Well, I mean, you're going to
just update the number.
Why don't we just do the 23, and if
It'll
it's
be
under
higher.
that, or what, I mean, why don't we get, who has
I don't know what the correct number is, and I don't
Chief,
know.
do you know what the correct number is?
And I want to look at the bids.
I want to say it's the 22,000 number, Commissioner, but I can't be 100% sure.
Because we're not taking the lowest bid?
I think I need to look at that.
Okay, all right.
Second the motion to table.
Okay. All those in favor to table, well, actually, public comment?
No, you don't comment on tables.
All those in favor to table, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? 7-0. Thanks for the help
Okay,
on
the next item is Resolution 2011-138 regarding authorization for the purchase of police uniforms from Red the Uniform Tailor in the amount of $52,885.20. Superintendent?
Yes, Commissioner. This was put out to bid. There was money that was originally in the 2012 budget moved back to the 2011 budget for the purposes of obtaining the uniforms. There are numerous reasons why we're trying to do this. Under the current uniform that the officers wear, the constructed fabric is a ripstop cotton blend. It could be dry cleaned only. It can't be machine washed. The uniform pants and shirts show wear within 1 year of wearing them. There's a more aggressive replacement schedule due to the wear, which costs the township more money in the long run. It's not cost effective. Trousers are off the rack, creates fitting issues for a lot of my officers. Whereas the new uniforms are constructed of a poly cotton blend, they don't require dry cleaning, more durable fabric, double stitching, long service life.
Okay. I'll move the approval of the resolution.
Second?
Second.
Oh, sorry.
Any board comment? Any public comment on Resolution 2011-138? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0.
The next item is Resolution 2011-141 regarding authorizing the appointment of Sergeant George H. Smith as Municipal Emergency Management Coordinator. Superintendent, will you handle this one or somebody else?
Commissioner, I could handle it. This is basically a no-brainer. The township manager and I, we talked about Sergeant George Smith. After he ran our EOC during Hurricane Irene, he was the hands-down choice, and he would be more than willing to take this over, and I think he would be an excellent candidate for this.
Commissioner, he also replaces Bill Martin and Dan Malloy, who were serving in those roles, who are no longer with the township, so this is a replacement.
Good.
Move the approval.
Board comment? I want to thank George Smith for also agreeing to do this, because this is above and beyond the call of duty. So, and I also want to thank all the employees that helped out with Hurricane Irene. It was profound to come in here and see the Emergency Operations Center set up and to see all that activity. So I appreciate that. So, any public comment on Resolution 2011-141? Seeing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0.
The last item on public safety is Resolution 2011-139, requesting that PennDOT review, study, and survey the traffic safety conditions on Conestoga Road between Radnor Chester and Hardwick Lanes. Superintendent?
Yes, we all know what happened a couple of weeks ago with the 2 children who were hit by the car. Township manager also felt very strongly about that. He personally observed a lot of times the travel and the conditions of that road, and based on that, we would like to work with PennDOT to look at the configuration of the road, the design, the deterioration, to see what we could do that's going to keep the neighborhood safer. We had a meeting that Commissioner Schaefer asked for last Thursday. There were about 50 people here, so I think this resolution is very timely and necessary.
What has deteriorated? I mean, just the markings in the road have disappeared?
The markings, the general condition, the configuration. There are a few different things that have to be done. A study as far as that curve, especially in 600 Conestoga.
Deteriorate? I don't know, I'm not opposed to this, but how did the configuration of the road?
Well, in 2007, they milled the road, and that cut down drastically on some of the auto accidents. But since 2007, there were really no improvements or any traffic calming that's been put in effect. Some of the signs are antiquated. So we looked at a lot of different things. A lot of the neighbors had a lot of good ideas. So,
Move the approval of the resolution.
Second. And I just want to clarify that this resolution asking PennDOT, requesting PennDOT to do some further research and study is in addition to what we're doing as a township, and that our township has really responded to this situation extraordinarily well. As Superintendent Colarulo mentioned, we had this meeting last week, and our traffic safety unit has already been out there and spent a good amount of time researching and assessing the situation, and will continue to do so. At the meeting that was held, there were many considerations and ideas and opinions which our traffic safety unit and police force will continue to research. So we'll be working in collaboration, but we're both working on it. It's not just going to be a PennDOT project.
Also, they mentioned that next year they're planning to repave that part of the road. So this is a natural fit. So we don't repave the road, then go back and tear it up.
Any further board comment? Any public comment on 2011-139? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0.
That's it for public safety.
Thank you, Commissioner Mahoney. Commissioner Nagel, Parks and Recreation.
Parks and Recreation, we have in front of us resolution number 2011-145, which is a resolution approving the sponsorship policy for use by the township. This was vetted by the Parks and Rec Board and approved at their meetings, and I would like Ms. Cullen to take a few minutes and walk through it for us.
Sure. Thank you, Commissioner Nagel. A little bit of background on sponsorships, most notably in reference to the Parks and Recreation Department. These have been used nationally and locally. It's become a big trend that we've seen that has taken place, that we've been witnessing relative to events and programming, and even taking it steps further towards publications and brochures and things of that nature. But essentially, It would enable us to be able to generate more support for these types of items by being able to authorize and work through a sponsorship policy such as the one that is before you. We've seen evidence evidence of use within our department over the last 10 years, most notably, of course, with the concert series, involving local vendors and local banks such as TD Bank and Pico Energy, who have given us monetary support, as well as other organizations who have given in-kind support. It's enabled us to reduce the amount of money and contribution that comes directly from the township in order to be able to have a successful event such as the concert series. And on the flip side of that, it's enabled the comprehensive growth and visibility of the different businesses and organizations that have made contributions, because they're able to gain exposure and have presence at such events. So essentially, overall, we're looking to basically put forth the sponsorship policy so that we can increase the ability to deliver events, deliver programming to a broader base of the community, and overall lend to visibility and growth of businesses and organizations that would be partnering with us in these endeavors. As John had mentioned, the Parks Board has reviewed this. It was presented by me at their October and their November meetings. Mr. Rice has reviewed it as well. And we do request on behalf of the departments within the township who will utilize the policy, and not just recreation, but our IT department as well. We request your authorization to basically move forward and use this in a way to administer sponsorships moving forward.
Thank you, Tammy. I move the introduction, or the approval of Resolution 2011-145.
Second.
Any board comment?
Yeah, I have one. So, page 3, Radnor Township will actively seek opportunities. Any thought given to whether that should be may seek opportunities? And even among board members, whether that would be better to be made? Is this, I mean, this is sort of a big policy step. I'm not sure. I'm willing to defer, but, you know, is that?
I think the word will is a good thing. This is basically the board approving not only the policy, but the energy of the staff to actively do this. So I think that's probably a good thing, in my opinion.
And then, John Rice, we have the authority to restrict firearm advertising? Or is that limited to the state?
Well, I think the township, in adopting a policy, can pretty much establish whatever restrictions you want up to a certain point. I mean, it's a choice, a policy decision that you're making.
Yeah. Well, once we make a policy decision to advertise, we don't have to take every advertiser. If we don't like the advertiser, we could say no. We don't have to take your advertiser, do we?
No.
No. So we're in complete control of what type of advertising we take.
I mean, this is sort of something that's going to be promoted, sold, and, some of these will just happen as a matter of course, or maybe some that come back in front of the board.
But if somebody wanted to do an adult book online bookstore, we wouldn't do that, right? And we
I
could
hope
say
not.
no. Yeah, so, I mean, we have the ability for guns, anything we want to say no to say no.
Correct, yeah.
There's no state preemption on the advertisement of guns,
No.
right?
No.
Thank you.
It's discretionary with the town.
Any other board comment? Well, I'll just real quick, I just want to thank all staff, because I understand not only did Tammy work on this, but I think everyone in the township worked on this. So I appreciate everyone's help and effort, and the Parks and Rec Board for reviewing this. So, any public comment on this resolution?
Hi, Jim Schneller. I live in Radnor, and I also comment as a principal of Philadelphia Metro Task Force. We object to the fact that on page 2, in your language about, well, it just says on the basis of, you're preventing yourselves from making a decision on typical discrimination language, sex, race, color, religion, disability. But you've included sexual orientation of the proposed donor or sponsor, and I'd like to say that we object to that strenuously, because that language isn't in any state code. It's being pushed on practically every
Excuse me,
township
Jim,
in the
could
state.
you clarify, you said we object?
Yes. I
Are you
introduced
representing a
myself
group?
as James Schneller and Principal of Philadelphia Metro Task Force.
Okay.
We have members in Radnor Township.
Mr. Chairman, may just to clarify, I don't know if Jim's supporting adult entertainment to be advertised. We want to exclude that, so that's what that refers to. And I would ask the board to keep that in there, to restrict adult
I'd
entertainment
ask
from
then
advertisement, so.
that sexual orientation not be used.
We'll leave
because
this to public
sexually
comment. I appreciate your comments.
The phrase sexual orientation has been rewritten in the past 5 years to mean something specific. It would be wonderful indeed to see any kind of improper behavior caught. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0.
Tammy, do we have any upcoming programs you'd like to announce?
We do. We actually, right now, are currently registering for the Radnor Youth Basketball Program, which is for boys and girls in grades 1 to 12. So we encourage everybody to go to our website at radnor.com and look for that under the Parks and Recreation area. I also want to announce that the Radnor Township Winter Newsletter will be available the week of November 21st, so look for that in your mailboxes sometime around Thanksgiving. The Recreation Department's recreational activities brochure will also be available in mid-December, so look for that on the website and as well as around town in some of the area organizations such as the library, and the post offices, and some of the downtown businesses. We also have a first inaugural foul shooting and food drive basketball free throw contest that's going to take place on Saturday, November 26th at the Radnor Activity Center. We also have our annual trip to New York City that'll take place on Saturday, December 3rd. And we also have the Holiday at the Willows event that'll take place on Sunday, December 11th at the Willows Mansion from 2 to 4 p.m. I also want to just give a thank you to everybody who helped us with a tremendously successful annual Radnor Run event. The 34th annual Radnor Run event was actually moved to a snow date in the first time in its history, and we had tremendous support around town from the Radnor Town Watch, the Radnor Fire Company, our own Radnor Police Department, and of course our administration and our boards. And with over 954 people that we had registered that were out on race day, we really just had a tremendous event, and I want to thank everybody for their support for that annual tradition here in Radnor.
Tammy, I also just want to mention I've heard some really great feedback about the open gym program at the Sulpizio. It's a big hit with the preteen crowd, so I just wanted to share that with you.
Thank you.
Tammy, also, if I can just clarify, the foul shooting is of the basketball species, and there will be no birds shot.
Exactly, thank you.
And please don't bring any guns to that event. That's basketballs only, right? I have to admit, when I read it, I thought, oh no, we're sponsoring shooting
John
of
Rice
birds.
thought the same thing.
Thank you. John?
So you've never shot a foul shot?
Yes, I have, but when in print, I thought it was a hunting expedition.
It's happening near Thanksgiving, hence the word foul,
Yeah.
F-O-W-L.
But there is a foul shooting thing about the same time up where you live.
Right.
Probably.
Thank you very much, Tammy.
Thanks,
That's
John.
all for Parks and Rec.
Thank you, Commissioner Nagel. Finance and Audit, Commissioner Higgins.
First item on the agenda is the schedule of bills payable 2011-11A, grand total of $1,215,303.62, and the bills have been approved and verified by department heads and are within the 2011 budget limits. So I make a motion to approve.
Second?
Board comment? Any recusals on this schedule?
Yes, thank you. I need to recuse myself on the items involving office basics.
No problem. I'm writing this down as well. Any board comment other than that? Any public comment on scheduled bills payable? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0.
Next item on the agenda is Resolution 2011-144, authorizing the township manager to enter into a contract with HFS Benefits to administer the 2012 Flex Spending Plan. I did have a question, Barbara. Bill, what's the dissatisfaction with the current vendor, just out of curiosity?
In addition to not being responsive enough to employee questions and needs,
just being able to access them, submitting the paperwork for reimbursement. Usually, it's just the fax machine won't work. We'll have to make multiple efforts to get the faxes over. And then trying to contact a person to resolve these issues has been difficult as well.
And did we ever have a greater enrollment than we have now? Or how long have we had that current provider, just out of curiosity? I mean, this, to me, is when I look at this, I think, as you point out here, there needs to be an education element, because paying this money pre-tax is a significant benefit to you as an individual.
Yeah, I'm not sure if enrollment has ever been any higher than it is now. I don't know the exact numbers, but we don't have any records up in HR that would indicate we've had greater enrollment in the past. And as far as we can tell, this has been the provider, the firm we're recommending to not go with.
Is the new provider, somebody going to do an education program for the staff?
It is our intention that with the new provider and the new features with this program, most notably the debit card, there will be a whole new education campaign to try to increase their enrollment.
That was the end of my questions. I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Board comment? Public comment? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 7 to none.
Next item on the agenda is a motion to approve spending $8,500 to Mockenhaupt Benefits Group for the actuarial valuation of the post-employment benefits. I don't have any questions. Bill, you want to give a quick explanation?
Yeah, the services provided by Mockenhaupt was to update the other post-employment benefit liability information as part of our 2010 audit process. The expenditure came in as a little bit of a surprise, so that's why this is after the fact, and I do apologize for that. We've corrected that with Mockenhaupt moving forward, but they did provide the service. They provided us with a 2-year actuarial update for January 1st of 10 and 11. So we have the information moving forward for next year. And being that it exceeds the $3,000 charter amount, asking the board for a motion to approve the expenditure.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Board comment? Public comment? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 7 to none.
Excuse me. The next item on the agenda is Resolution 2011-146, authorizing the 2012 budget. But I think what you're I'm going to ask you, Bill, to cover this, but I think what you're asking is not what you're actually ultimately recommending as the budget. Correct?
That is correct.
So if you could just do that explanation.
Absolutely. Thank you. The agenda should actually read approval of the preliminary 2012 budget, which for the board members and those that are watching, that is the document that was discussed back at the special Board of Commissioner meeting on October 4th and was subsequently distributed and posted on the Township's website. It was a budget that was predicated mostly on mathematical calculations and assumptions. It is not intended to be the budget that we discuss moving forward. This is satisfying Chapter 7 of our Home Rule Charter, which stipulates that the board must adopt a preliminary budget by resolution. So this satisfies that section of the charter. Moving forward, as was distributed to the board on Friday and is posted on the website and is available here at the Township building, is the Township manager's recommendations for 2012 budget. That document is the one intended by the administration to be the one discussed moving forward. So tonight is merely a charter satisfying approval.
So tonight, what you'd like us to do is just basically approve this and not really have the discussion around the recommendation until the next meeting. Is that accurate?
That is accurate. Our intention is to, as the calendar specified, the 2012 budget calendar is to have the November 28th meeting, have a significant portion of that meeting dedicated to reviewing the document that you received on Friday, and that was published to the website as well. And then use that as a document moving forward as we move through the adoption process.
Can you do something for me before the next meeting? I think you guys have done a really nice job in putting the recommendation together. But the one thing that I've asked for a few years, and I recognize you're relatively new, is some kind of head count summary.
Okay.
Because it was hard for me to figure out where we landed, because I was a little perplexed as to why the salaries are going up 3% in the aggregate when I thought we had fewer staff going into next year than we had at the beginning of this year.
And we'll put the headcount numbers in there. Part of that issue deals with the 11 budget as well. So getting the 11 budget a little bit more in line with how things are actually turning out will be helpful to make that comparison a little bit more useful.
And just to refresh my memory, where you say, what you identify as budget now is really, the 2011 budget is really kind of more of your latest estimate. It's not the budget we approved at the beginning of the year?
The totals are as the board has approved. It is not,
Okay.
It is the legal document of the amount that the board has adopted. The only change to that has been with regard to the change in accounting for some of the employee-related expenditures being moved back up into the departments, which changed departmental totals, but it did not change the bottom line figures.
All right, but a couple of meetings ago, we approved changes to that. Now, is that reflecting what you call 2011 budget?
Yes.
Okay, that's what
Yes.
I thought. Okay.
And I'll just make a point of clarification. On the agenda, it was misstated. The agenda should read Resolution 2011-146, adopting the 2012 preliminary budget.
And I apologize for that. That was my mistake when I sent it over for the...
I apologize for missing that. Kevin, did you motion to...
Yep, I'm about to. I did not.
Okay. Thank you.
Make a motion to approve the resolution.
Second. So we're going to discuss the 2012 recommended budget at our November 28th meeting and have a public hearing. So the public has some time it's on the website now, to download it and look at it at their leisure and come and comment at that meeting. Do you, Bill, think that we will have available at that time updated actuals or forecasted actuals so that we can use those numbers at the November 28th meeting?
Yes.
Okay.
And I can incorporate those into the worksheets if that's what the board would like.
Well, you're not planning on updating this before the 28th in any case?
Yeah, not to the extent of reprinting it and republishing it, no. But I can have those numbers available.
Right, so it
when we have
might
the
make more
discussion.
sense to just have a standalone that we can use to compare, make our own column with.
Sure. And the one thing that we did not touch on earlier when the board discussed the monthly reports from the departments, the one that's not in there for this month yet is the finance one. And that will include, as we talked about it a month ago, not only the full year budgeted amounts versus actual, but also the forecasted information as well. So that should help that will have the updated information as well, which
Okay. To the end of the year.
as of this week, the best estimate that we have on how we're going to finish out the year.
And that'll be your forecast to the end of December?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
great, thanks.
At our next meeting, can we also have managers' recommendations on ways to get to a 0% tax increase? So what we would have to do to have no tax increase?
We could prepare a 0% and show you what that would look like, and then some options maybe in between there of some concerns that maybe the board might have, that whether or not hiring additional staff or that, to pull that out, we can actually put that together and be able to try to get that out by the end of the week to the board, as well as post it up to the website, so that this way, when you have the meeting on the 28th, there'll be some presentation by the staff as part of this, as well as we'll invite the different organizations as well that receive monies in regards to their budget, be here in case you have questions, but also you'll be able to look at those options too as well. So we'll have that prepared.
Just to be clear, if I'm on, I just want to you're not going to give us a whole separate, but you're just going to give us sort of a set of line items that say, if you don't do A, B, and C, you can get to a 0%
That would be great if we could do that, if the board
I
is
would-
fine with that. I mean,
Yeah, I
because
don't-
again, it may get very confusing
Yes,
if you get the bigger
that
documents.
would be preferable, I
Yeah,
think,
that's to me,
to,
but we get a whole
not
That'd be
another
great.
document, but
Yes, we can do that.
ways to get to zero tax increase or something between zero and what you're proposing.
We can do that, sure.
Any other board comment on the resolution? Any public comment on 2011-146? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
I just, I think,
Opposed?
I'm not
Motion
opposed.
carries 7 to none.
I think we ought to just, we didn't articulate, the proposed increase in the recommended budget right now is 3.4%, correct?
3.37.
Spoken like a true finance guy.
And we will be having the public hearing on that budget on November 28th here at the Township Building.
Yes. And I only say that is
Oh,
because
yes.
it's tied directly to the regional CPI, so it's not that I'm that obsessive about it.
No, you should be, that's your job.
Yes, sir.
That was it for finance and audit.
Thank you, Commissioner Higgins. Under Personnel Administration, I have Resolution 2011-143, entering into a disability retirement agreement with Officer Brennan. This is a personnel matter. Yes.
I need to recuse myself on this item because I have a close friendship with Officer Brennan and his wife. So I've spoken with the solicitor, and he's advised me that I can stay on the podium during the discussion.
Okay, that's fine. Your recusal is noted. This is a personnel matter, so I'll ask commissioners not to make any public comment about this. We are required under the law to act on this in public because it does involve funds. So I will move to adopt Resolution 2011-143.
Second?
Okay. I still ask board comment, public comment. Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 7 to none.
Correct,
I'll just-
please have this.
Oh, I'm sorry, 6 to
0
none.
with
Yep.
one recusal.
Thank you. 6 to 0 with one recusal. I got used to saying 7 to none all night. I also announce that the Personnel and Administration Committee did meet on Wednesday, November 9th, to interview a candidate for the Community Development Department. And also, I'll announce that it appears that our audit firm, Larson Allen, has just announced a merger with Milwaukee-based Clifton Gunderson. Just want to put that out there, that apparently that firm is growing now because of that merger. At this point, I don't have any other report. We'll head right into old business. Oh, I'm sorry. Commissioner Schaefer, Library.
The library has 3 programs coming up for the holidays that I'd like to announce. On December 7th, they're having a holiday wreath-making workshop at 7 p.m., which will be $20. On Saturday, December 10th, from 11 to 4:30, they will have a very recycled holiday where you learn how to make bows, bags, and gifts out of things you already have. And on Sunday, December 11th, from 2 to 4 p.m., an adult accompanied by up to 2 children can make a holiday nature craft. And pre-registration is required for that, and there is a $20 charge for materials. Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner Schaefer. I have no report under Public Health. I'll just announce that the Board of Commissioners plan to meet this Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. at the Township Building for a special Board of Commissioners meeting to discuss stormwater management. Any other new business?
I just wanted to mention, earlier this year I decided not to run again for the position of First Ward Commissioner, and after a very spirited but very good, clean campaign, Jim Higgins won the position as First Ward Commissioner beginning in 2012. Jim's in the back of the room, and I just wanted to acknowledge that he is here and to congratulate him. We've already started the process of transitioning over from me to Jim, and I know that the manager has reached out to Jim and suggested meetings with staff to bring him up to speed. So Jim, welcome. Thanks for coming to the meeting this evening, and we'll be seeing you between now and reorganization.
Thank you. Any other new business? Public participation?
Jim Schneller, St. David's Park. I wanted to first mention something that I ran across in the textbooks the other day. The board is frequently stating that executive session is about, quote, litigation, personnel, and one other word. And I think that it would benefit the township a lot if some of your discussions about litigation were open to us, because they're not all ultra secret. And frankly, from my cursory reading, I don't think that you can just lump everything about a lawsuit under that. I mean, if there's a suit about property, you're free to discuss any non-privileged aspects of it, and we get a better feeling about transparency. And in a certain few cases, we'd know exactly what's going on with the Bayshore case and matters surrounding that. We just saw 2 more people leave this fall. It just about erases the staff that was here under Mr. Bayshore, and I don't think that quieted us any. I think that we're more concerned than ever because we see the machinations at work despite the cleaning house. And if you could somehow keep the litigation front a little bit open, the public would be fascinated. I know they're home watching too. And I think you're beholden to us to let whatever could seep out be heard. And I wanted to make a sincere comment about the website. Congratulations on the new site. And the visuals are great. There is a box for anonymous tip, and it only has 50 spaces. If you've ever tried to write, there's 2 wild dogs running around my yard, please investigate. The neighbor's dog is harassing my child, okay? That's 75 characters. You can't write anything into that box without editing like a professional. And second of all, I wanted to ask that the searches now, or the agenda items, when you click agenda, it forwards you to an agenda page for that particular committee. However, it would be very convenient if after you check that committee, if the drop-down box gave all the committees, because you've got to go back and find the main page, which I haven't found yet, that has all the committees in the drop-down box. I wish Melissa was here.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
And, frankly, 2 more sentences. That was it. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Move we adjourn?
I'll just mention we will be heading into executive session after this meeting. Do I have a second on the adjournment? Second? Okay, we're adjourned.